will never forget looking into my newborn son's eyes for the first time. They were so blue and perfect. His skin was so soft and smelled so sweet. He was truly a gift from God. After an hour of bliss, our euphoria changed to fear. The nurse let us know that the doctor was going to come in and had to know if we were going to go through with the circumcision of our son. It was a decision that would impact his life forever, and I wanted to make sure that the decision we made was the correct one. Today I'm going to persuade you why parents should keep their newborn son's foreskin intact. For those of you that don't agree with me, I will show you a lot of benefits of keeping your son intact that you might have not been aware of. For those of you that do agree with me, I'm going to give you some solid arguments to continue to help you persuade your friends to not circumcise their sons. I recently had a son, and being circumcised myself was faced with a difficult decision to make. I also was able to research a lot of different websites, journal articles, and books to help me make the decision. I'm going to show you how circumcision is a violation of your baby's rights, why your son should be able to make his own choice about his reproductive organ, and benefits of keeping your son intact. Now, autonomy is an agreement to respect a patient's right to determine a course of action, and no one has the right to cut off another person's genitals without that person's fully informed consent. And just to kind of give you an idea of the procedure, what they do is the doctors make an incision here, all around here, and up the back, and then this whole skin comes off. Newborn babies are not in a position to choose, which violates their legal rights to both refuse and seek alternative treatment. They must be protected from anyone who would take advantage of their defenselessness. On CERP.org, the American Academy of Pediatrics Committee on Bioethics stated that only a competent patient can give patient consent or informed consent. The concept of an informed parental permission allows for medical interventions in situations of clear and immediate medical necessity only, such as disease, trauma, or deformity. And the male reproductive organ in its normal uncircumcised state satisfies none of these requirements. And that was last accessed on November 20th, 2011. So we've been informed on how circumcision violates a newborn's rights. Now let's hear why your son should be able to make their own choice. According to NoCirc.org, circumcision is the most common surgery done in the U.S. It happens to 60% of all male babies, 1 million times a year, 3,000 times a day. Once every 26 seconds, a newborn baby gets the end of its penis cut off. And that was last accessed on November 22nd, 2011. So what that means is out of every 10 boys, 10 men that you see in the U.S. that were born here, 6 of them will be circumcised without their consent. And just to kind of back that up, I talked with a lot of my close guy friends, and that statistic proved true. Almost all the Americans were circumcised, whereas my Latin friends remained intact. And I was mutilated as a child, and if I could turn back time, I would definitely choose to remain intact. The American Association of Pediatrics.org, it states, the benefits of circumcision are not sufficient to recommend that all infant boys be circumcised. And that was accessed on the 21st of November 2011. So there's actually no medical reasons or evidence that point towards circumcision. Even though there's no medical evidence, a lot of people still go through with the procedure. And just to go ahead and give you an idea, I was able to get some data from 1996 to 2006. And this is a breakdown based on regions of people here in the United States that go through a circumcision. And you can see that here in the Midwest, where we're at, the rates pretty much remain constant at around 80%. So here it is for the United States. Okay, and the actual procedure itself costs $400, and most insurance doesn't cover it. The simple solution is to not put your child through the surgery, wait, and let them choose for themselves when they are of age. Now, I've discussed why it's important for your son to make his own decision regarding his reproductive organ. Now I'd like to show you some benefits of leaving your son intact. Many would argue that circumcising your child protects them from infection. However, doctors opposing circumcision.org states the foreskin actually is nature's protection against infection because it has numerous functions to protect the human body from infection through the male reproductive organ. It is equipped with muscle fibers that act as a sphincter to close the tip to keep out infectious material and pathogens. The inside of the foreskin is moist with pathogen-fighting substances. Urine, which departs out of the body as a sterile substance, frequently flushes out the foreskin of prepubescent boys and maintains cleanliness. And that was last accessed on November 22nd, 2011. So let's think about this. If you were to go through with the procedure on your son, they would have an open wound, which immediately would be exposed to fecal matter as well as urine. And being a nurse, student nurse, I can tell you that an open wound and fecal matter is not a good combination. A lot of people argue that their boys need to look like their fathers. However, CDC.gov that states during the past 3 years, the rate has actually dropped from 56.2% to 32.5%. And I guess the argument that I'd say to someone, say, if your dad was an amputee, would you cut off your arm or leg so you could be like them? It doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's the same with reproductive organ. Another point of keeping the foreskin intact is the enhanced sexual pleasure. NoCirc.org explains the foreskin is the most sexually sensitive and pleasurable part of the male reproductive organ. A specialized rigid band of tissue encircling the tip of the inner foreskin contains thousands of erogenous nerve endings, which provide intact men with the majority of their sexual sensation, making foreskin vital to the male sexual response. Circumcision removes this highly erogenous tissue, resulting in a dramatic reduction in sexual sensation. And that was last accessed on the 17th of November 2011. So once again, the enhanced pleasure will be something that I can never experience because my foreskin was removed at birth. Now today you've been given some convincing evidence why parents should rethink the circumcision of their sons. I've done this by showing you how circumcision violates newborns' rights, why your kids should be allowed to make their own decision about their genitalia, and the benefits of having an intact reproductive organ. Now the doctor returned to our room and let us know that he was ready to take our little man for a little while. But I confidently looked him in the eye and let him know that we were going to keep our son intact the way that God intended him to be. Now, I all know that we know people that are having babies, and I'd like each of you to take one of the brochures that I provided and just to give them information so they will be able to make the right decision about the health of their baby by leaving their sons intact. Now, if you're considering snipping, you are totally tripping.